is the house where Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson says Michael Barajas held his first victim captive.
There was like multiple men and women coming in and out of there. There was a green light at one time.
One of his neighbors, Marie Schubert, says she was stunned to hear the allegations against him.
Because I have a little girl that comes here every other summer, and it kind of scary now because we never let her out in front to play without us being out here.
Sheriff Swanson calls 36-year-old Barajas the serial monster and says his first victim, a 20-year-old female, was kidnapped and sexually assaulted back in November.
Offered her, if you recall from our first story, a warm place to stay, a shower, food. It's the bare needs of an individual. It's the basic hygiene that she so needed and was so desperate.
According to the sheriff, these are just some of the items used by Barajas to hold down victims while sexually assaulting them. Swanson says this was all a part of a human trafficking ring called Mossad Squad.
They hold guns up to their head. Here's one of the weapons that was used. We know there's a second weapon we haven't found to the head of these individuals. Barajas held it to the head of our victim and said, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. He even used his teeth. As mentioned, that he would tell the victim, I'm going to rip your throat out if you don't do what I tell you to do and you don't comply.
Since his arrest, a second victim has come forward. Swanson says her nightmare began when she was 4 years old, and it lasted from 2003 to 2007.
Every week, sometimes 4 to 5 times a week, he would hold this little girl and he would do the same thing to her, almost the same type of threats, the same type of intimidation, and the same type of sexual assault.
According to Swanson, the victim said this happened 100 or more times, and Barajas is now facing an additional 20 felony charges.
I'm hoping that he didn't do it to too many other people. If he did, I hope they come forward so we can nip this in the bud real soon.
36-year-old Michael Anthony Barajas is just one of the suspects arrested in connection to kidnapping and sexual assault of a 20-year-old woman. That's according to Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. Swanson says the 20-year-old victim was kicked out of her house and had not showered in days. Barajas offered the victim a place to stay, eat, and shower. Once the victim accepted Barajas's offer, she was then taken to a house where she was barricaded.
This guy used this opportunity to not only sexual assault, but have people come over and traffic her as she was tied forcibly to the bed while they assaulted. And we're talking multiple suspects, which is why this is still an open investigation. Our victim has been traumatized. We have aftercare that's being developed for this victim. The whole scenario is so bizarre because Barajas threatened that if she didn't do everything that he told her to do, that he would bite her neck and rip out her throat.
Flames raced through the former Welcome Inn and Suites at Buena Vista Township Saturday night. According to the Township Fire Captain Lucas Brown, no one was injured, but it was too dangerous for firefighters to go inside the building. The motel on Holland Road failed to pass a building inspection back in March of 2019. Tori Lee, the township superintendent, tells me the building has sat empty for the past few years. She says the cost of a demolition is hard to fund.
The cost of the demo was a cost that exceeded the amount of what the township could actually afford to pay for demolition, which is upwards of close to $1 million.
Despite those challenges, Lee said she already made plans weeks before Saturday's fire for the building to be demolished.
Just recently, Congressman Kilde's office announced award of grant funding, and part of that package included funding for the demolition of the former Welcome Inn Motel.
Lee says the building's in poor condition, and in the past, police have had to remove homeless individuals several times. As for the cause of the fire, Captain Brown says the investigation is ongoing, but Lee believes the fire might have been intentional.
So at this time, we do suspect arson. Do we know where it came from? Who started it? We have no idea. So there is a pending investigation going on, but it had to be an arson.
Smoke was still visible from the scene Sunday morning. Lee says the site is still dangerous, making it a much more urgent matter.
There's still a fire that's burning underneath, and so we need to make sure that spectators stay off of that site.